Good afternoon, everybody. Another weekend is upon us and another month is gone. We are walking into the weekend and into August 2020. This is Jason Leyva with the Fort Worth Community Arts Center. We would like to welcome you to another episode of Boxed Lunch. And we are in the film industry today. So please help me in welcoming the one and only Jessica Christopherson. Is that correct?
Right. Yep, that's good.
Perfect. How you doing today, Jessica?
Great. Thank you so much for having me. How are you?
I am doing very well, thank you. Hanging in there, watching the calendar just fly by for this wonderfully exciting 2020 year. Ready to get on with the weekend, do some socially distanced activities in my home, and I've almost filled my coloring book. It might be time to get a new one. So
I understand that for sure.
So Jessica, before we get started with our lunch interview, would you mind just introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about who you are and what it is you do?
Sure. I'm Jessica Christopherson. I'm the Assistant Vice President of Marketing and the Film Commissioner for Visit Fort Worth and the Fort Worth Film Commission. Been with Visit Fort Worth for almost 9 years. It'll be 9 years in December. And so our job is to market the city, to bring visitors, filmmakers, and meetings to Fort Worth. And so love what I do. We've got a great team, great leadership, and just excited to be here with you and talk about Film Fort Worth and quarantine and everything else.
Well, we are so very excited to have you. So what is on your lunch menu today?
So I haven't been very healthy lately, so I figured I'd do a more healthy menu item. It's been really all about like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, corn dogs, hot dogs, and things like that with my son being at home with me full time. So today I'm gonna do an avocado salad. It's super easy. It's just avocado, onions, cherry tomatoes, and then you make your own dressing with red wine vinaigrette or red wine vinegar, olive oil, lemon juice, salt and pepper. So it's super simple, but it's a good summer salad. Easy.
Sounds delicious and healthy as well. So good for you. So I'm going the old school route today and moving on with my fabulous BLTs. So that's what I'll be making today. And I didn't do my ingredient list today because I'm hoping everyone understands it's bacon, lettuce, and tomatoes.
Classic option.
Yeah, so I'm quite excited. I love bacon. It works for every meal, and hopefully we don't upset any vegetarians out there, but you know, it's Friday, so why not just go for it and have a little bit of breakfast for lunch with that fabulous component called bacon.
Can't go wrong with bacon in my book.
So Jessica, do you mind while you're starting to chop and do all that, would you tell me just a little bit about how has the Fort Worth film industry been affected by all of this COVID-19, and what's going on right now in the film industry here in Fort Worth?
Yeah, it's been hugely affected, like a lot of other industries, obviously. I mean, came to a complete standstill during lockdown, during quarantine. I will say, you know, filmmakers and the creative industry in general came up with so many innovative ways to either share stories, share their work, or provide alternative services during quarantine. So a lot of filmmakers and production companies figuring out how to offer like virtual meeting services and things like that. So I think there's a lot of innovation that happened during quarantine. Now filming production is back open for business. So we started to see some projects start to come in and start to scout, especially in June. I think we had about 17 projects reach out with interest to look at filming in the future, asking about locations, and we had 6 projects that filmed, one of those being Leon Bridges' Sweeter music video that Rambo directed. So that was the first actually project out of the gate that filmed in Fort Worth after the restrictions were lifted. So now we're almost weekly in contact with the Texas Film Commission or the Association of Film Commissions International, and just hearing from other film commissions and cities from around the country and what they're doing and how they're trying to get business to pick back up. It's really interesting to read the trades in Hollywood and just see how some of the bigger studios are handling it. A lot of studios and production companies are coming up with their own standards in addition to what's required by like a state or a local jurisdiction. So you know, it's starting to pick back up. Nowhere where it was before, you know, COVID hit obviously, but I think there's hope. And we are lucky we have so many talented filmmakers in Fort Worth. It was just kind of cool to watch through quarantine people continuing to be creative and creating their own short films and really supporting each other. And so I'm hopeful. I think that things will hopefully pick back up. I mean, there are some projects that are starting to scout, so we'll see. During quarantine, we were able to partner with Here Fort Worth, which is also part of our organization. They partnered with Galay, musician Galay, to create a creative artists industry relief fund. So then they were able to expand that to filmmakers. We partnered with United Way. And so that's an initiative that we helped with during the first part of quarantine, and trying to get some grants out there to filmmakers, musicians, and visual artists who were out of work during that time. So that was something we were proud of to partner with Galay, Here Fort Worth, and United Way. And so that was super helpful, and really appreciative of United Way's support with that, on that initiative. But yeah, I mean, I'm hopeful. We're starting to see more projects come in. I know the Texas Film Commission is doing everything they can to release guidelines as quickly as they come out, and you know, everything's kind of changing on a day-to-day basis, with like the way it is in a lot of other industries. So.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I know that, I don't have all my facts, but I guess there was some big news with some of the movie studios over the last 24, 48 hours about streaming services and release dates and things like that. Does that affect us here in Fort Worth, or are you finding that the majority of the projects and things that are coming out of the area are independent, or is there some of that effect with some of the larger chains, and how that affects the distribution policies of those?
Yeah, for sure. Well, one example is Miss Juneteenth. So the film that shot last summer that just debuted on Juneteenth just last month. Huge success story. So, you know, obviously, of course, I'm sure they would have ideally gone to theater, but, you know, released on VOD, and it was the #1 film on Apple iTunes, or in the top 10, like that release week. And it's received so much amazing publicity. That is Channing Godfrey Peoples and her entire cast and crew. Such an awesome team to work with, and have been receiving amazing coverage from LA Times, New York Times. So, you know, I think we're ideally, of course, it would have been nice. I'm sure they would have loved it too, to go for theater. I think that it actually worked out really well. And you know, everyone is super in tune to watching new content right now. And, you know, it's kind of getting into that rhythm of seeing, not like how like Disney Plus has released some films over quarantine, you know, straight to VOD and those sort of things. So, I mean, most of the projects in Fort Worth are independent, and so it doesn't really affect us as much right now, because I think that the majority of things that filmed the past couple of years have gone more of the independent release and distribution route. However, I mean, ideally, I think I'm just speaking for myself, any filmmaker would probably want to go, you know, have it go to theater first, but it's a different world we live in now. So I will say, I think that's one case study to look at where it's been tremendous. Like, it's the way that it's been received, and going that route, it actually, I think, worked out okay. And they've just received so many accolades. They got a nod from the Academy on social media. And so I mean, again, just my personal opinion, but I have really high hopes for that film, and they are just such an amazing team. So I'm excited to see what happens next for them.
Yeah, absolutely. We had Miss Opal Lee on a couple of episodes back, and she was also talking about how proud she was about the Miss Juneteenth film. So congratulations on that. I'm curious, with the theater industry on hold right now and struggling to find its footing in the virtual world, have any theaters reached out to the film industry? Is there any discussions going on back and forth as to how the film industry can support the theater industry as well? Is any of that crosstalk been happening?
I don't really know, but it should. You know, I think there's even an opportunity for us locally. We should have that conversation, even just, you know, whether it's streaming or supporting in other ways. But I think that's, you know, just with, you know, in Hamilton being released on Disney Plus, and like thinking in those terms, as long as we're dealing with this and not able to go to a theater, I think that's maybe a logical next step and an opportunity to, you know, pitch live theater to some of these distributors or some of these networks or some of these content providers like Amazon or Netflix or any of the hundreds of others to pick that up as content to, you know, to distribute on those platforms. So, I mean, at a high level, I don't know if those conversations are happening. I assume they probably would be, especially with some of the larger theater companies, but I think that's also a cool idea and something that would be neat to talk about locally is like, how could we pitch, you know, these live theater performance to some of these distributors or figure out some kind of PR behind it. I saw the New York Times reviewed the Amphibian, was it the Amphibian Theater? Yeah, which is amazing. So
Yes.
yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, maybe we can get those discussions started and do what we can to unite forces and maybe bring those two disciplines together to keep people working and more importantly, just try to continue to get the best artistic product out there. I know that several of the theaters have started the virtual platforms and trying to get their shows out there. And it just seems logical that if they are going to embrace a visual format, that hopefully they'll start reaching out to some of the film industry people to use that support. And they know what's going on and what it should look like with the camera eye. And
Yeah.
it seems like they could be very beneficial to the theater industry to help pocket those performances and get them out. So.
Yeah. I think it'd be cool. We should talk about doing like a virtual mixer between some local filmmakers and some local theaters, just start brainstorming. Because I think that there's, to the point you just said, I mean, there's so many talented filmmakers in Fort Worth in the area to, you know, to be there to capture that and just some kind of, you know, partnership that could come out of that. So I think it's a really cool idea.
Yeah, well, maybe we can move that forward and change the world. Box lunch already making a difference. I'm flattered that you even were receptive to the idea. So.
I love it. Well, I'm trying not to chop off my finger at the moment, so I'll keep looking down.
Speaking of, how's your lunch coming there? And do you mind telling me just a little bit about, are you just chopping it all up, throwing it all in? Is there any prep going on with that?
Chopping it up as we go. I didn't really pre-cut anything. I probably should have. But there's cherry tomatoes, cucumbers, garlic, which I may have put too much garlic in there, and then onions, and then I'll chop up some avocado, and then I'll start putting the sauce together. You can put, you can add cilantro to it, but I know, like my husband, he doesn't like cilantro, and some people say it tastes like soap to them. One of my coworkers says it tastes like soap. I like it. I don't think it tastes like soap, but leaving it out. Have you heard that? Have you had like a taste bud for cilantro or no?
I don't listen to anyone who doesn't like cilantro. I just immediately mute them and go on with my life. So, do you make a special non-cilantro bowl for him?
No, I mean, actually, he'd probably eat it if I put it in front of him. Like, he's not that picky, but I think he thinks it's like overpowers the taste. So.
Well, shame on him. He should get over that and support what's being put on the table, right?
Oh, he does. He usually cooks, actually.
That's too funny. So, Jessica, what have you learned about yourself and the film industry, so to speak, during all of this pandemic?
Well, oh wait, I should not have cut onions. Sorry, now my eyes are watering.
Now, I asked you that question, so if you start weeping,
yeah, I'm about to get really emotional. So for myself, I think, you know, I mean, it's been interesting. I think, you know, I'm kind of type A, usually go, go, go. My job has always kept me really busy. We travel a lot, do a lot of activations, do a lot of events. It's a lot of hosting people, showing around people around the city. So, I mean, there's definitely some office time, but not to the point where it was like, you know, sitting in front of a computer 8-9 hours a day like it is now. So for me, I've just realized how much, I guess I kind of always relied on that go, go, go and like human interaction, outside, you know, in addition to my family. But so I think it's been some time to just kind of, I think everybody's probably like this. I'm assuming like you just have so much more time to think and like overthink and overanalyze and like think about your past and think about your future and things like that. And so I personally have, you know, just learned to like make more time for things I like to do that I kind of let slip before because I was always just like super busy or like making myself busier than I needed to be. So just reading books a lot more, going outside a lot more. I mean, probably because, I mean, it's one of the few things you can do, but it's also been a benefit just being, you know, going for walks more, running more. The yoga studio I went to, unfortunately, had to close its doors during COVID, but they've switched to online classes. So
Right.
been doing that a lot, which I think has just helped mentally and physically. And really, I mean, just trying to play with my son more, just like actually like get down on the floor, play Transformers, like try to, be focused in doing that. And so, I mean, I think I don't know if those are things I've necessarily learned about myself, but just kind of trying to be more present in the moment, because I'm super bad about like, oh, what do I have to do next? Or I should be doing this, or I should be doing that. If I'm doing nothing, I'm like, oh, I shouldn't be doing nothing. I should be, doing something else. And so trying to just like be a lot more calm in that way. And so, and then film industry from that perspective, just continue to be impressed by how resilient and creative people are, and just really being supportive of each other. I think, I mean, you hear this a lot, but in Fort Worth in particular, the creative industry, I really do feel like is very supportive of each other. And just even watching on social media, just people share each other's work and comment on each other's work, trying to figure out ways to collaborate during that time. So to me, that's really impressive, and just like gives another layer of hope. And so I think that's been kind of cool to watch on social media in particular. And then, yeah, so I mean, I think it's just kind of trying to like use this time to kind of think about, what's important, and, how you can change things and continue to keep things change for the better after we come out of all this, for me anyway.
Absolutely. Some great points there. And just stay with it. There's nothing better than being on the floor playing Transformers. That's every man's dream.
Well, it's so funny because some of those things are so complicated to, transform. And so we started to like look up videos on YouTube on how to transform some of them. And then that opened up this whole can of worms. Like there's all these people on YouTube who just talk about Transformers and transform them, and they're sponsored by Hasbro. And they make all this money, like just talking about Transformers. And so my son, who's 5, like got really obsessed with them. I was like, okay, we gotta like quit watching so much YouTube. So I was like, well, why don't we make your own Transformers videos? And we'll put them on YouTube, even though I didn't really. So we started shooting his own videos of him like talking about the Transformers and transforming them. So he's like, Mommy, put them on YouTube. And so I just put him on the computer and told him that was YouTube. And he's like, oh, Hasbro should be sending me a box of Transformers any day now. So I was like, well, not really, but anyway. So that's what we've been doing to kill some time as well.
That is too funny. I'm curious. Have your sound effects improved from when you started to where you are now? Do you feel as though you've made some progress in the transforming sound effects?
I think so. I really do. My son disagrees though, because sometimes he likes it when my husband and when we all 3 play together. But if my husband's like working or busy or something, I was like, well, I'll still play with you. Nope, your sound effects aren't as good as Daddy's. He said I don't do the voices right, so I always usually have to be Grimlock and do the dinosaur voice, because that's the only one he says I've mastered, so whatever. So that's what we've been doing.
So yeah, that's great. That may be my next program, is just audio sound effects that we've learned in quarantine.
I'll probably watch it.
So Jessica, I'm curious now, you had mentioned that some of your responsibilities were trying to sell filmmakers on Fort Worth. And I'm assuming that a lot of that was landscapes, locations, things like that. Have you found that now you're having to sell safety precautions, health concerns? And I know that there's been a lot of procedures coming out from Lionsgate, shooting schedules, things like that for safety. How much of that has become part of your pitch now?
Yeah, for sure. And I think, the thing that people have been most interested so far are what are our state's requirements. So what are the guidelines set forth by the state, and do those match maybe what their production company or what their producer, whomever, has put together, and what will they have to ensure that they have in addition to what maybe they've already planned for. It's interesting because there's definitely a new position that's kind of coming to life, like a on-set COVID coordinator. So someone who might have may work with a set medic, or maybe a set medic that gets an additional certification. So there's definitely new roles evolving out of this, and I'm sure that will continue on, moving forward. And I think it's changing small things, well, not small things, but changing things like craft services. How will craft services work, and how will that have to be set up? So there's so many things that have to be into consideration. So yeah, I think it's definitely you selling those points on, what things are being put in place. Like where they're going to stay, what's the housing, what does the hotel look like, what are those safety precautions in place. But I think one of the questions that we've been getting is how do our guidelines compare to what's required in your city or state? And I think that's what a lot of the other film commissioners in other cities have been talking about as well.
Wow. And again, I not trying to put you on the spot. I'm just curious about, I know that, again, a lot of the theaters have had some hurdles to get over with union actors and actors' equity. Have you seen support from SAG in capturing talent? And what are your thoughts on that situation?
You know, I'll be honest, like, because we don't deal with as many union projects in Fort Worth, I haven't had that conversation with SAG, our local SAG representative. I should. I need to kind of touch base with them and see where they're at on that. I know the Texas Film Commission is working closely with them, but 100% all for equity, across the board and in any industry. And so, Taylor Hardy, our associate film commissioner, she launched a campaign last year that spotlighted female filmmakers, Female Filmmaker Friday. So we launched that at South by Southwest last year before last, and really showcased all the female filmmakers that we have in Fort Worth and in DFW. And so want to do more, and we are going to do more to just showcase all types of filmmakers and everyone in our community who is doing things to lift up the creative community. So I don't know if that totally answered your question, but I definitely want to continue to have those conversations. Haven't talked with our local SAG representative yet, but I know that's definitely something we will get involved with.
Gotcha. Good to know. Good to know. Yeah, I know that there's some struggles on the theater side to try to solidify some of those contracts, and it sounds like most of it's really going to continue to be based on the numbers going up or down in terms of the COVID infections and things, which I don't really think is a bad deal. And certainly if it continues to hopefully be safer with the procedures, that maybe we'll see some other talent that is able to make their mark in this situation. And, I think as long as people are continuing to be as safe as they can, it'll play out the way it plays out. So on that same note, how do you see film adapting now that things are starting to kind of pick back up, and the film industry has been distanced from capture to the audiences? And I know that a lot of the theaters themselves are pondering the question as to when to reopen. How do you see the film industry itself adapting to the current situation?
I think they're adapting pretty well. I mean, all the productions that we've been in contact or worked with are, making sure that everyone on set is wearing masks. There's definitely some precautions being put into place to keep people separated, 6 feet apart, separated as possible. It's been interesting because there were some early conversations about how scenes for how certain scenes would change. Like if there was an intimate scene or a conversation, where people need to be close. And I mean, filmmaking and theater, it's all about showcasing emotion and, bringing people into that moment. So it's hard to do if you can't, showcase people being close and interacting in that way. But I think, as far as things continue to move on, I mean, you see Netflix is still pumping out content and have plans to pump out content. I think they've rented out I can't remember which city it was, but there's a couple studios in New Mexico, maybe it's Austin, I can't remember. Anyway, that have booked the next few years by just a couple of those types of studios like Netflix, that because they have plans for so much content. So I don't think, I think it slowed it down. I think people are trying to figure out what makes sense and how to make it work, because it's a huge industry and employs a lot of people. And so I think, here in Fort Worth, we're working on a much smaller scale. And, right now with the kind of productions that we have come in, I think, like 12 Mighty Orphans that shot here last fall, that was a huge production. And so the biggest one we've had in Fort Worth. And so once we get something like that in again, we'll have to, really take a closer look and how that works and what the guidelines are in place, at that time, because it's constantly evolving and changing. But I think especially with providers like Netflix, Amazon, all those type of things, like they're still, I mean, from what I can tell and from what I read in the trades, things are, moving along. So.
Yeah, absolutely. There was some other big news I heard too about the agencies in LA as well. And so I guess they just had a bunch of furloughs as well. And so they were saying that there's a real opportunity right now. And if you're trying to find the silver lining, so to speak, to have writers and talent have maybe a backdoor into some of the higher ups with all of these changes and things that are going on. So, you know, we got to continue to try to find some ray of light in all of this.
Yeah.
And,
Sure.
you know, I've seen a lot of really good independents probably getting a little more notice than they have in the past. Do you see this as an opportunity for maybe some films that might have slipped through the cracks and see a resurgence with the limited amount of content that's out there?
Yeah, I mean, just personal opinion. Yeah, I think so, because you know, you have to think, even though things are getting back into production, there's still going to be that gap from the time it takes to create something to when it's ready to, you know, hit VOD or the theaters or whatever. And then I also, you know, wonder too, with if movie theaters don't come back right away, you know, I think there's going to be that trickle down effect with the major studios and things like that. So there may be this opportunity for small independent films to really kind of dive in there, because people are, you know, with streaming and video and all those things, looking for that type of content. So yeah, I think it really could be. And I think also just, I mean, it's so funny. I'd never really looked at TikTok before quarantine, and just, you know, looking at things on TikTok and Snapchat and things, how people are making these, you know, microfilms and, you know, all, and those type of things on Instagram. So yeah, I think it's just, it was already changing. I think it's just going to continue to change and evolve more and more. So I think so. I think it's kind of that opportunity for maybe someone who had a project and went out there and pitched it and it didn't really get any traction, you know, to give it another go. Also, it's also gonna be interesting to see what happens with film festivals. Like I know Sundance Film Festival already announced that they're pretty much going almost all online, but they'll be popping up in different markets. So you'll be able to, you know, go to a smaller pop-up in, you know, different larger cities, not just there in Park City. And then I saw, I think, well, Tribeca has already been doing it. They've been doing screenings at different drive-in theaters across the country. And so I'm curious to watch that and just see how that evolves. And, you know, in some ways you might get more people viewing because it's an online platform, and I don't know, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I know Oklahoma City just had their Dead Center Film Festival, and they went online with theirs, and I was a little flustered because they had some regional caps on some of the films that I was interested in seeing. And so it's certainly not all you think it is. You know, everybody assumes that virtual means everywhere. And while there were some great films that I was able to see, some of the others I was a little flustered by some of the regional settings. But I certainly understand that filmmakers are doing all they can to protect what takes years to produce. And so it's certainly good to see them standing by their products. I do kind of wish that some of that stuff was a little bit more accessible. So Lone Star Film Festival here in Texas, what's going on with it right now?
You know, I honestly haven't talked to Chad, who's the director, in a little bit, but I think they're just trying to figure it out like everyone else. You know, we've always partnered with them for the past, I'd say, 5-6 years, and big supporters. And so whatever that ends up looking like, we definitely will be involved in some way and supporting, whether it's online or in person or a combination. But yeah, I think they're probably trying to figure it out like everyone else. I think, you know, it's funny because I think in like April or May, it's like, oh, November felt so far away, you know, December feels so far away, like things will be fine, you know, by then. And so now as we're hitting August, I think it's like, you know, a lot of those festivals and things like that are going to have to start figuring out, because it's just getting closer and closer. And yeah, so I don't know, I need to check in with him, but whatever they do, we'll definitely support it, whether it's helping to create some online panels or whatever they decide to do, for sure.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay, so how's that lunch coming? I skipped ahead and I saw you did all kinds of magical stuff there. So can you bring me up to speed as to where you're at?
Yeah, I wasn't really paying attention to if I was using the tablespoon or teaspoon, but I think it was not fine. So I just mixed together olive oil, red wine vinegar, just a half teaspoon is what no, 1 teaspoon of honey, salt, pepper, and then you do lemon juice and some oregano. And so it looks a little mushy, but it's really good. And so put it on a tostada and eat it, or just eat it like a salad, or dip some chips in there. So
well, it absolutely looks delicious. So so you're saying it's done? That's it, huh?
That's it. So you can just throw it in the refrigerator so it's extra chilled, or just eat it like that. So it's
Nice, very nice. Okay, well, I know that your time is very valuable, and like all of us, I'm well aware of the lineup of Zoom calls that come throughout the day. So very efficient lunch. We'll move on to plating. And while we're doing that, I was curious if you would talk a little bit about what helpful community resources are you seeing or using personally, and how can your organization be assisted or provide assistance to other artists and organizations?
Yeah, I think I've been so impressed by everything that all the museums in the cultural district. Well, really, so many attractions, but especially some of the virtual and online content that came out during COVID. I know I watched a lot of it, engaged with my son, and so I think those resources when we were all locked down were amazing to have, and so been super impressed by that. As far as what we can do, just continue as people are being creative, whether in film or theater or visual art or anything, just reach out to us at the Film Commission, tag us on social, let us know what you're doing so we can share it. If you want to collaborate with folks, if you have something that you want to get the word out about, I mean, that's what we're here for. We're here to help people find locations, but also here to be a beacon for that industry and try to connect filmmakers and creatives with who would make sense for them to help get their project off the ground, or just to brainstorm, talk, whatever. So I just encourage people to follow us on social media, tag us, reach out to Taylor or myself at the Film Commission, or really anybody on the Visit Fort Worth marketing team. It doesn't have to just be film. So my job's kind of split between the two. And so if there's something, if you're a small business, if you're a restaurant, any of those things that would, pertain to tourists or meeting planners, or even locals. I mean, our marketing has really shifted to more of a local message during this time, whereas usually we're, marketing to people outside, trying to get them to come in. So, I mean, we're here to help. We're here to support. I mentioned Tom Martins earlier, who oversees here Fort Worth, our music initiative. So same thing on the music side. If there are people who are looking for, what's my next step? What should I do? Or who should I be talking to? Is there anybody I should be collaborating with this time? Just reach out, and, we're happy to always offer any advice we can or connect you with somebody that would make sense. So.
Awesome. 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 Okay. So I'm going to make the quickest lunch ever while you're plating yours up. I didn't talk at all about how I prepped. I'm just going to show you my little BLT stuff right there. And then I've got my bread right here, and it's really pretty simple. I prefer the lettuce on the bottom so it holds all of the wonderful ingredients. Then a couple of tomato slices go right on there. And then, of course, the fabulous bacon. And honestly, this has proven to be, I think, maybe the quickest box lunch prep as well. Little mayo for those of you that are interested in that. Just squirt a little bit of that on. My secret ingredient today is salt and pepper, so you can't go wrong there. Just a little dash of that and a little dash of that, and then presto! Look at that. That's like a 2-minute meal there. So
that looks really good, actually.
That goes right on top there, and it doesn't look quite as pretty as yours. There is some gorgeous color there, and I'm quite excited to move on to the lunch phase. So I've got another question for you. Any tips or tricks on how to stay sane mentally and physically during this crazy time?
Man, gosh, I guess, I'm trying to just take one day at a time, and then like 1 hour at a time, and then like 1 minute at a time. I think there's definitely been my biggest challenge has been just trying to keep my son occupied, like while working and things like that. And I can be really hard on myself, like, oh, he's watched so much TV today, but you just gotta be easy on yourself during this time and let things like that go. For me, it's really just been reading books. I've been reading so much more than I have probably in the past 3 years. Just whether it's a fiction book or nonfiction, and then really just trying to stay active, ride bikes, do yoga, be outside when it's not 105 degrees. But
yeah.
So that's what I've been doing, just trying to stay as active as I can and read as much as I can. We, binge watched everything you could watch, like during the first part of COVID. So now we kind of switched to watching stand-up comedy, because at least it's something different and, makes you laugh. And so, that's what I've been doing. But if anyone has any tips, let me know, because I feel like I'm running out of things to do.
Well, I was just going to ask you, do you have a book recommendation for us?
Yeah, I just finished, so 2 books I just finished. It's called In a Dark, Dark Woods. It's by Ruth Ware. And I think Reese Witherspoon's actually making it into a movie. sounds kind of cheesy, but it's actually really good. It's about a bachelorette party that goes wrong, and it's takes place in the UK, and it's just really well written. It's a suspense thriller, and so I really liked that one. And then I just read Like Brothers. It's by Mark and Jay Duplass, who are filmmakers, and it's just kind of a series of essays and kind of like their autobiography. And they're interesting. I like their work, and I think they're interesting in how they work together. They're super close, like, and they kind of dive into like how close they are as brothers and business partners and things like that. So I liked it. I thought it was a good read. So that's what I've read recently, anyway.
Awesome. I'll certainly look into those as well. So very nice. All right. So this is the most important question. How and where can we find out about the Film Commission and keep up with what all's going on with you folks?
Yeah, so go filmfortworth.com, or you can just go to fortworth.com, which is the Visit Fort Worth homepage. You click off to film, music, sports, all of our different areas. And then at Film Fort Worth on Instagram and Twitter, and Facebook/Film Fort Worth on Facebook. So yeah, that's the best way. And you can, if you go to the website, my email's there. You can email me, email Taylor, our Associate Film Commissioner, and we're always happy to help.
Awesome. Great information, great content, and we're just so very glad that that you took the time, Jessica, to join us for lunch. Any other words of wisdom or final message for everybody out there?
No, I'm just so happy to be included, honored to be included in this conversation, and we just got to all hang in there and be kind to each other and get through this together. So.
Indeed, indeed. All right. Well, we are so appreciative of you joining us. This is where we lift our plates and present. So, Jessica, thank you so much for taking the time. We look forward to all of the great work that the Film Commission's doing and getting those films out there, inspiring, educating, and entertaining people. So thank you so much. And that does it, ladies and gentlemen, for another wonderful episode of our Boxed Lunch program. We'll be back on Monday. Please take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and have a safe and wonderful weekend, everybody. Have a great day. We'll see you again soon. Bye-bye, everybody.